Well, welcome everyone. I'm glad somehow or another we made it to the same spot. This is, of course, our annual remembrance for the victims of Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Hold on. We got some folks floating in. We'll wait a minute here. Come on in. Well, this is our crew that was redirecting everybody, I believe.
And thank you.
Yes. That was nicely done. Okay, everybody. There's plenty of seats over here. We might have to, we're back in this corner. We'll make sure everybody's sitting down. No reason for standing. And if we need more chairs, we'll bring more chairs. All right, well, welcome. I'm Kelly Mulholland. I'm the Vice President of OMNI. This is a long-going annual event, and I appreciate your patience in dealing with our change of venue at the very last moment. I assure you I had absolutely nothing to do with that decision. So if it doesn't rain, it wasn't my fault. Nothing to do with it. But this is a very important event. Tonight our theme is Morality and War, a New Future for All. And I'd been out of town this weekend, and I came home, and I walked in the door, and I got this very strange phone call. And it was a gentleman who was not real happy. He wanted to know about this event, and somehow my number was provided for this event. And so he said he wanted to know whether there were Japanese students going to be here, and I said, well, yes, there are. They're part of the ceremony today. And he said, well, what kind of names are you reading? And then I said, well, we're reading the names of deceased people from the victims, from the Hiroshima bombing. And he said, well, can I have equal time? He said, I want to read the names of people that lost their lives in of course, in Pearl Harbor. And it was an interesting conversation. I tried my best to stay level-headed, and it didn't get out of hand, although he did end up hanging up on me. But you know what it did is it reminded me of how important this is. Because there's still a lot of people that have a lot of bitterness about this and a lot of confusion. Because the two things are not really comparable. I told him that I was very, very, very much mourning the loss of the people at Pearl Harbor. And those names could very well be read today, and it might be appropriate, but that's not what we have planned today. But really, there's nothing in our history that's quite like Hiroshima and Nagasaki. An attack on civilians of that scale is unprecedented. And it also reminds me, another reason I think this is important that was not kind of in our current events is not so long ago, our president was in Hiroshima there to be there for the celebration, or not celebration, but remembrance. And there was all this talk about, and he felt, obviously he had his hands tied, he was not allowed to apologize for this horrendous act. And that really hurt me deeply. I feel like that would go so far, just a simple apology. But we're not even there. And that's why we're here. And I appreciate everybody being here again, year after year. We have to be vigilant about this stuff. They're already talking about nuclear arms again in the news, and whether we're going to use them or not, or whether it's off. I'm not going to get off on that. We have a wonderful list of speakers today, and we're going to start off with a prayer that we've started off with a few times over the years that my wife and I wrote. Actually, very strangely enough, this is, by the way, a wonderful part of the tradition. The Kaminskis have brought this peace train since the beginning of time, and it's become a very important part of the thing, and I'm so happy to see it show up. But when Hank Kaminsky was just about to finish his peace sphere, the great peace sphere at the town center, one of the things we should be really proud of in this town. Don and I were given the great honor of going inside of it. There's a hatch in the bottom, little did you know. And before they brought it over to the town center, and we got to go inside and we played music and we wrote a song inside there. And of course the lyrics are what's written on it, which is "May peace prevail on earth." And I would like to ask Don to come up, and also we have some other musicians that are going to help us throughout the evening, Jenny and Ansel Ogle. please come on up. Let's join us. You can help us out on this. And we need everybody. This is to cover the traditional part of our program, which is a prayer. We like to start with a prayer, but this is just a section of prayer with the words, "May peace prevail on earth." Very simple, and we'll do a little rehearsal. Okay? Just sing it. May peace prevail on earth, on earth. May peace prevail on earth, on earth. You okay?
Yes, sir.
And just keep going every time. You ready? May peace prevail on earth, on earth. May peace prevail on You'll hear more from him when that's over. All right, I'll get all this stuff off and move along here. So this is, I'm really excited to have the participation of the Japanese Student Association this year. And they're going to help us with a couple of different parts. But the president is going to help us really with the welcoming. And so I would like to introduce to you Taiki Shibamoto to the stage. He's the president of the association.
Thank you. It was really a nice song.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to put that on my iPod. So okay. It is such an honor to meet all of you and to be here as a president of JSA, Japanese Student Association at the University of Arkansas. Before I begin the speech, I'd like to thank for this opportunity to cooperate with the OMNI Center for Peace, Justice, and Ecology, and clearly mention that our Japanese Student Association will never orient ourselves toward any political stances by participating in these events. The main purpose of this event, Morality and War, a New future for all, is that not only would we like to mourn the annihilation of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but globally pursue nuclear zero. Today there are going to be poetry, music, and reading of the names of the victims at Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings, and an exhibition of one of Japanese traditions at this event. I hope this will be a wonderful opportunity for everyone to share our thoughts. As many of all of you are already aware of, the history has been greatly changed with the existence of nuclear power. While it has provided a lot of countries with their source of various types of energy, it has been used at wars to demolish cities and take away people's lives. As for World War II in particular, on August 6th in 1945, an atomic bomb was dropped onto the land of Hiroshima, a western prefecture of Japan. And 3 days later, another bombing occurred in Nagasaki, or further west in Japan. An estimated 140,000 and more than 70,000 people, respectively, died because of the nuclear blast and the impact of radiation. Again, this is not to weigh in the discussion between people who support either country involved in the war, but the important thing for us to remember is that we lost a number of human lives, and that those incidents can happen in any other place on the planet and at any point in the future. We hope that there are many people who will understand our idea, so we would like all of you to enjoy this event and take a little time to think about this matter through this event. Thank you for coming again, and enjoy this event, please.
That's one of my favorite parts of this, working on this particular year's event, was getting to be a friendship with Taiki. He's been a great contributor to our committee and helpful in organizing everything. So the next part we have up is another part of the annual tradition, and some person I much admire, our own mayor, to do the proclamation. Mayor Lionel Jordan, please.
You know, before I read the proclamation, I'd just like to say a few words. It's always an honor and privilege for me to be in the midst of you all and to think about how you fight for peace every day, not only just in the city, but in the world. And it's always an honor and a privilege for me to be with you, because I have such respect and honor for you and the stands that you take for peace throughout the world. Now, accordingly, I bring the following proclamation. But before I do that, I just want to say one more thing. This morning I was reading Lao Tzu, and he said, though you may be in the midst of the storm, if you will stay calm and peaceful in the midst of the storm, you will find a way out of that storm. And that way is always love. And if you take that path, others will follow. And that's what you do. You take that path of love. And you stay calm and peaceful in the midst of all the chaos and confusion that we see around us in the world today. And if you keep doing that, others will follow you. And we'll have a better nation and world. Accordingly, I bring the following proclamation. Whereas since 1979, citizens of Fayetteville have gathered annually at the University of Arkansas around the anniversary of the nuclear bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki to remember the loss of life and the destruction caused by wars. Whereas the proliferation of nuclear weapons and missile defense systems throughout the world costs hundreds of billions of dollars, and estimates of nuclear waste disposal costs are upwards to $50 billion. And whereas the 20th century has witnessed the development of new skills in conflict resolution, international peacekeeping, and a burgeoning human rights system, encouraging the hope that our culture can become one of promoting peace and constructive cooperation. And whereas the United Nations General Assembly seeks individual commitment via the Manifesto 2000 to make this decade a time to transform the culture of war and violence into a culture of peace and nonviolence. Whereas the Manifesto 2000 further states that each individual may share in his or her responsibility for the future of humanity, in particular to our children of today and tomorrow. Yes. And whereas this year marks the 71st anniversary of the first bomb that was dropped on the Japanese city of Hiroshima, now therefore I, Lionel Jordan, Mayor of the city of Fayetteville, Arkansas, do hereby proclaim August 14th, 2016 as a day of remembrance of the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki and Fayetteville, and encourage each of us to honor our peacemakers and renew our commitment to the prevention of such suffering in the future. OMNI, keep pushing for peace.
Are we lucky to have him? You almost have to pinch yourself to have a mayor like that. That's just amazing. Well, okay. So we have a wonderful poetry offering for you, and you know this. I'm really happy to tell you that OMNI UA, the university chapter of OMNI, is back in action and doing good work. And we have representatives from OMNI UA helping us today. In fact, we're going to start off right here with the Vice President of OMNI UA, Shane White, who's going to read a poem for us.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out. It's a pleasure to be a part of this. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Today I'm going to be reading a poem by T. Merrill. It was written after in remembrance from Hiroshima and the Nagasaki bombings. It's titled, You Who Read No Calm. You who read no calm reportings of alien, distant, dire events, but shriek and keen as love goes down, beyond all help to violence, whose temple walls, storm-struck and split by sizzling bolts, collapse around, while amid the crash of chaos hope whirls in the death spin to the ground. You who alone in deep distress cry out for help where there is none. All you, whom I shall never know, I know a portion nonetheless of cruel trials you undergo. Killers in many guises come, sudden as electric shock, or looming ghostly as a shark, leisurely finning towards its mark. I who breathless and sweating once wrestled devil to the floor, and saw him rise again and finished what he had begun before. I, who relearned each child of prayer, forgotten to the stars once more, send up a poor and hopeless plea for a spirit's peace beyond despair.
Thank you very much, Shane. That's beautiful. So we have a song for you. I stumbled on a song. Could I bring the band back up? Jenny and Ansel and Donna. We're going to do the next song. So this, I stumbled upon a song that, we've been doing this so many years, and I thought I'm going to run out of really good songs that are very, focused on this particular issue. And Low Voltage is one that I've been overlooking for a long time. It's not by Pete Seeger. It was transcribed by Pete Seeger. He came up with the melody, but it was a poem by a Turkish man named Nazim Hikmet, and it's called "I Come and Stand at Every Door." It's a very, very touching poem. Let me grab my instrument. I suppose this might require some explanation. This is a quattro, and this is the Puerto Rican national instrument. And I just had got it recently, and the reason I'm using it, I was looking well, needed to learn the words to the song, so I looked at the internet, you know, and I noticed that the Byrds had done this song. A beautiful, you know, the Byrds, I didn't realize that. They did a beautiful version of this song, and you know, they got that. You know, that 12-string stuff, so it just seemed like the right instrument for this. There you are. Okay. Everybody ready? I come and stand at every door. Stand at every door, but no one hears my silent tread. I knock and yet remain unseen, for I am dead, for I am dead. I'm only 7, although I died in Hiroshima long ago. I'm 7 now, as I was then, when children die, they do not grow. My hair was scorched by swirling flame, my eyes grew dim, my eyes grew blind. Death came and turned my bones to dust, and that was scattered by the wind. So this next portion, I'm really very thankful again to have the Japanese Student Association, because we're going to combine the reading of the names of victims, which is something we do annually, with a ceremony, a very beautiful ceremony. Now the ceremony is going to have to be somewhat abbreviated because we're not where we were going to be. We were going to use the peace fountain as our water source. So you'll have to use your imagination just a little bit, but that'll be fine. But we're very fortunate to have 4 members of the Japanese Student Association help us with this, to read the names. So I'll mention their names first. So we have Kenichi Sarazawa, we have Annalie Ulrich, and again Taiki Shibamoto, which you've already met, and then Eric Rowe is going to help as well with the lanterns. And I think it'd be better to let Taiki explain this. It's called the Obon ceremony. And of course, we'll combine that also with the traditional bell ringing and the reading of the names and a brief description of who this person was, so that they're more than just a name. And maybe ask everybody to think about this person deeply and kind of put yourself in their shoes and think about their legacy. Without further ado, may I invite you all up, and I'll let Taiki give you a little more information about this ceremony. And by the way, I should very much thank Karen Takamoto for her role in designing the Obon lanterns for us. So Taiki.
Hello again. So the Obon ceremony is one of the Japanese traditions, as I said before, and it's in the middle of August. It's a time to honor the deceased and ancestors. And Obon celebrates the liberation of the soul with floating lanterns, which is in the back, and symbolizing the journey to the immortal world. But unfortunately, we can't float them on the water today. But yeah, we're just gonna bring them to the table so you can see them. And it's gonna be the reading of the names. There are gonna be 13 names of the victims of 2 bombings in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Those are from John Hersey's book, Hiroshima, and a collection of the drawings, which is called Unforgettable Fire. And then I'd like to introduce these 3 people. In the back, there's Eric Rowe from the Japanese Student Association. And then here's Only Oleg, which is also a Japanese Student Association member. And then here's Kanichi Serizawa, who is one of the former presidents of JSA.
Mr. Toshio Sasaki, a clerk in the personnel department of the East Asia Tin Works, had just sat down at her workplace and was turning her head to speak to a coworker. Dr. Masakazu Fuji, owner of a private hospital, was sitting down to read a newspaper on his porch.
Try on the outside.
Outside? Sure. Mrs. Hatsuyo Nakamura, a tailor's widow, sat by the window of her kitchen, watching a neighbor tearing down his house for the air gag defense fire lane. Dr. Terusumi Sasaki, young member of the surgical staff of the city's modern Red Cross hospital, was carrying a blood specimen down a corridor for a Wasserman test.
Father Wilhelm Kleinsorge, a German priest of the Society of Jesus, reclined on a cot in his order's mission house, reading a Jesuit magazine. Reverend Mr. Kyoshi Tanimoto, pastor of the Hiroshima Methodist Church, paused at the door of a rich member in a suburb to unload a cart of things for protection from expected B-29 raids. From Unforgettable Fire, a collection of drawn or painted recollections by untrained citizens who could not forget the hours following the bombing of Hiroshima, August 6th, or Nagasaki, August 9th. Mr. Iwakichi Kobayashi saw countless numbers of people suffering from burns, and at the age of 77 drew a young lady covered with a burned sheet of tin roofing lying on the riverbank. Masato Yamashita painted his memory of a young boy, 4 or 5 years old, burned black, lying on his back with his arms pointed towards heaven.
The next 5 are also from Unforgettable Fire. Junjiro Wataoka painted his recollection that the black hair of a women streetcar driver remained straight. Akiko Takakura recollected the hand of a corpse lifted to the sky and the fingers burning with blue flames. Tadao Inoue painted a girl of about 3 years, bringing water in a can to her dead mother. Kiyoaki Uen, a freshman at the teacher training school, who helped to coat survivors' burns with mercurochrome, cooking oil, and newspapers on August 6th. Jun Watanabe, he painted a pile of blackened bodies gathered from the nearby ruins. They were being cremated one after another on the riverbed. Out of the 100,000 killed, all 13 by chance survived to tell or paint their experiences. With deepest sympathy on the demise of the victimized and their families. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for participating and for helping us do this beautiful ceremony. Thank you. We're very indebted to you. Thank you, guys. It's a hard part of our annual remembrance, but it's an important part because these are not just numbers, and they're people, and they all deserve our thoughts. And so, there's one community in this area that is uniquely qualified to talk about the nuclear bomb issue, and also climate change and a lot of other things, and that's the Marshalese community. As I don't think I have to tell everybody, the atolls were bombed relentlessly for 10, 12 years in testing, and received radiation such as Hiroshima received many times over. The statistics are appalling, but anyway, we're very fortunate to have a wonderful Marshalese culture right here in Northwest Arkansas, and we're even more fortunate to have a very wonderful climate activist and just a wonderful person from the community that's going to share a poem with us. Could I welcome? Excuse me, I got on the wrong page. So we have Christopher Ballows up here. Could you come?
All right, I speak kind of soft, so I'm going to try to speak close to the mic. I am fortunate enough to be here, and I just want to say how grateful I am to be part of this. I know the nuclear history we all have shared is very important to me as well. I know for my people, it gets real personal too, because we're still living in those times of pain right now. So I'd like to share something. It took a lot of me just to write. I call it Nuclear Stories. Hiroshima, Nagasaki. I'm sorry for what had happened to you. I'm truly sorry for my ignorance, my lack of sympathy, my hateful weapons of mass destruction. It blinded me when I was growing up. Blinded me from learning your stories. blinding me from understanding your pain, your struggles, and blinding me from reaching out to you to say, how can I help? I ask and blame myself, why was I not truly aware of this sad, inhumane part of history? And then I realized, I don't quite understand my own nuclear history. I still don't understand this nuclear legacy shown all over articles, documentaries, and on the internet. To this day, I'm still learning about some of the bombs like Baker, Mike, Bravo. And the crazy part is, there were 64 more. I had no idea what jelly babies were. I had no idea what Project 4.1 was. I don't understand why they told my people this was for the good of mankind. But everything is in God's hand, my people said. But I don't understand why our heroes of World War II became our villains too. I didn't understand why my grandfather made occasional trips to Washington, D.C. and other parts of the world for my people of Bikini. I don't understand why my people are dying from cancer left and right. I don't understand why a civilized nation not know the value of human life. Are we less human because we don't talk like you? Are we less human because we don't look like you? Did you not see the tears coming down the faces of my people when you took them away from their only home we've had for thousands of years? Did you not recognize the heartbreak of my people when you took them away from our loved ones, once laid rest beside our homes, now buried under your nuclear legacy? Did you not see the smile of curiosity in those children's eyes in Roanoke when they mistake nuclear fallout with snow? No. Did you not see the fear in the eyes of those mothers giving birth to unrecognized little human beings? I still find it confusing because in the end, they identify my people as nuclear savages. So I ask you, what defines humanity and what defines savagery? Because this nuclear legacy and my family's and friends' nuclear stories, surely you can tell who are the savages. Few generations and innocent lives later, my people and I are doing our very best to lead this fight for a nuclear zero world. So others don't have to go through what we are still going through. Like the determination of my ancestors to do the impossible by reaching those islands thousands of years ago, I know this is possible. It's been 70 years now my people have lived in exile. But yet we still smile. Why? Because we know everything is in God's hands. So Hiroshima, Nagasaki, again, I'm truly sorry. Together, we can better the world with our stories. Thank you.
That's very moving. Wow. We're so fortunate to have, keep your eyes open for the Marshalese community. There's a young contingent of activists that are really on fire and over climate and nuclear issues and great allies of the OMNI Center. So we're very pleased to have you on board. If you don't know, the Marshalese community has a lawsuit against the United States for violation of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty as we speak. So that's pending as well. That's a serious deal. Okay, well now we come to our keynote speaker, and this is very exciting. We're very privileged to have a guest all the way from Albuquerque this year, and very, very well qualified to be our keynote this year. Maria Center, get my notes together. Maria Santelli, she is the executive director of the Center on Conscience and War, and she's a longtime activist and worked for disarmament and accountability for 2 nuclear weapons laboratories in New Mexico for years, and then served as the coordinator for the Albuquerque Center for Peace and Justice, and has worked extensively with issues concerning veterans. In fact, she founded the New Mexico's GI Rights Hotline, and she now serves as the executive director again for the Center on Conscience and War. And we're very fortunate. She has her talk today is called Witnessing and Mobilizing the Power of Conscience. And I'm just very pleased to have her here, Maria Santelli.
Got a lot of stuff. Hello, good evening. It's really my honor to be with you at the Center on Conscience and War. I'll just give you a little background. We were founded in 1940 when it was quite clear that the United States was going to enter World War II. There were conscientious objectors doing alternative, peaceful, nonviolent civilian service at the time that Pearl Harbor was bombed. So it was quite clear long before the U.S. entered that we had plans to enter the war. We're 76 years old this year, and our work, of course, back then was in the context of a draft. Men who were drafted, who opposed killing. Now, and since 1962, in an overlap with the draft, the Department of Defense has allowed people who have a crisis of conscience in the course of their military service to apply for discharge as conscientious objectors. So that's where the bulk of our work is today. Take a little pause here between myself and this person. I was told it was necessary. I was brainwashed. As a U.S. Army chaplain, I watched on August 6th as the Enola Gay took off for Hiroshima. On August 9th, when Boxcar took off for Nagasaki. I said nothing. I knew hundreds of thousands of women and children would be vaporized, and I said nothing. I was silent. We, all of us, must no longer be silent. Those are the words of Father George Zabelka, a Catholic chaplain and conscientious objector. All conscientious objectors, or COs as we call them, start like Father Zabelka did, with what's in front of them, with what they're witnessing, what they're doing, what they're failing to do, and then they recognize something more must be wrong. This prick of their conscience then evolves into a realization that all war is wrong. Brian, a Navy officer, writes in his application for discharge as a conscientious objector. As I graduated from flight training in February 2015 to being a winged aviator in an active war-fighting squadron, the reality dawned on me. It became more and more apparent that I could not, in good conscience, continue to aid the American war machine. I remember the distinct image of being at work and sitting in the room where nuclear weapons are launched and questioning why I was even there in the first place. Shortly after Brian's realization, leaving behind a lifelong dream of being a Navy officer, Brian began his process of seeking discharge from the Navy as a conscientious objector. Father Zabelka blessed the atomic bomb crews who dropped the bombs on the people of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. He was a believer in just war theory because that was what his Catholic Church had taught for 1,700 years. And it was what his Catholic leadership in the Army continually reinforced. But it was his conscience that told him no war was just and all war is wrong. And it is the same message that each of us receives from our own conscience. The default position of humanity is that of conscientious objector to war. This is not who we are. Killing must be taught, it must be reinforced continually. In addition to working for the Center on Conscience and War, we're also part of the GI Rights Hotline Network. As Kelly mentioned, I started a New Mexico branch of the GI Rights Hotline. And I speak with people who joined for all kinds of reasons. None of them, not one person, has joined to kill. In our all recruited, what some would call an all volunteer military, but what I call an all recruited military, no one is recruited with the promise that they're going to be able to take another human life. No one joins for that purpose. In fact, very few people join at all. What percentage of the military what percentage of our population is the military? Does anyone know?
1%.
That is exactly right. So we've heard we are the 99%. Yes, we are. You're part of another 99%. 1%. When you add veterans to that number, it still only rises to 7%. And some of those men, keep in mind, were drafted, didn't join willingly or willfully. And why do people enlist? What promises are made to people? As I said, they're not made promises to kill. In fact, quite the opposite. Recruiters take great pains to promise these young people, you're not going to have to see battle, you're not going to go to war, you're not going to kill. And then, of course, that's not the truth. But why do people enlist? Why are young people from our communities so heavily recruited? To keep peace. To kill the bad guys.
To get a better life.
To get a better life. Patriotism. We call it the service, right? Capital T, capital S. What else? College money. One of the biggest reasons. No one is enlisting with the promise to kill. And that's what they're promised. But what is the reality? The reality is 1/3 of homeless adults are veterans. Sexual assault is a reality. 1 in 3 military women are assaulted. That's twice the national rate. Domestic violence is experienced by children and spouses in the military at 4 times the national rate. And trauma, post-traumatic stress, other psychological trauma, suicides, 20 a day. And remember, veterans only make up 7% of the population, yet they're almost 20% of the suicides. 1 active duty suicide every day. Compare this to combat. In the years we have numbers for, 2010, 2011, 2012, and 2013, more active duty service members and veterans took their own lives than died in combat. What's happening here? This is what we call, what we're just now beginning to understand as moral injury. Wounds to the soul caused by a transgression against the conscience. This is from a Marine Corps study. Their condition was more closely linked to an inner conflict rather than threats to their lives. We think about post-traumatic stress, and we call it a disorder, in fact. We say post-traumatic stress disorder, and that might be a thing. Certainly that is a thing for a rape survivor, a hijack survivor, for example, and some combat veterans, to be sure. That hypervigilance, that fear for one's life, fear for one's safety, those things are things that characterize a certain kind of post-traumatic stress, no question. But moral injury is different. Moral injury is the violation of one's conscience, those wounds to the soul. Because again, the default position for humanity is that of conscientious objector to war. To become warriors, soldiers must be trained and conditioned to override natural inhibitions. In combat, individual and group survival, as well as the success of the mission, which is killing, are completely dependent on a soldier's capacity to emulate psychopathic behaviors. Killing is not normal. If killing was normal, if it was good for us, we would be healthy and we would thrive after engaging in it. And that is not the case. And the military knows this better than we in the peace movement, I'm afraid, know this. We in the peace movement sometimes think, those people who join the military, they're different from me. I can't kill. Well, they can't kill either, not without consequences. In World War I, studies have shown, and they go back even further than World War I, but World War I, 5% of people shot to kill. And I hope everyone knows about the Christmas truce. And I also heard a great story about making coffee. They paused and they ground their own coffee in the trenches in World War I, and everyone paused, and that was something they had respect for in the morning. We're grinding our coffee, we're making our coffee, we're not going to shoot each other. And then, of course, the Christmas truce. But even still, when they did shoot, 5% of people were shooting to kill. They were shooting up into the sky, they were shooting in the ground, they were pretending to shoot, they weren't shooting to kill. World War II, the good war, 15% maybe shot to kill. By Vietnam, 90% of soldiers were shooting to kill. Today, the numbers may be even higher. What happened? Military training evolved to meet the military's goals. The conscience is overridden with extensive scientific and laser-focused training to teach a soldier to kill by rote, to kill without thinking and circumventing the conscience. Do folks remember Camilo Mejia? He was the first person to resist redeployment to Iraq way back in 2004. And Camilo was in a fighter fight in Baghdad. And he fired 11 rounds without even knowing that he had fired his weapon. It wasn't until later that he looked at his ammunition and realized what he had done. The conscience is suppressed just long enough for a soldier to be useful to the war machine. But they're taught to kill. They're not taught how to survive. Because the conscience will always come back. And for many, the result is moral injury. And what's the military's response? Drugs, denials, discharges, and distance. Drugs. 20% of service members are prescribed psychiatric drugs. At one of our bases, Joint Base Lewis McChord, nearly 300 diagnoses of post-traumatic stress have been reversed in order to continue to redeploy traumatized troops. There are at least 80,000 cases that we know about just in the Army alone of people being discharged with acts of misconduct or things that are called pre-existing conditions, so that the Army is not responsible for the damage that they've caused. They're not responsible for continued care, for the costs of war. These are the additional costs of war. If the military were to take responsibility for what happens for the damage to our souls from what we're asking these people to do or what they're doing in our name, the cost of war would be even greater than it is. 80,000 cases just in the Army alone. And these misconduct cases are often people self-medicating, acting out trauma that is going untreated or undiagnosed. We have a better response, and that response is justice. A lot of times, these service members are told, you can either follow your conscience or follow your orders. Following your conscience, disobeying your orders, well, those consequences are, we know what they are. They're finite, they're manageable. Maybe you'll get court-martialed, be busted down in rank, get a dishonorable discharge. Finite, manageable by most people. Disobeying your conscience, violating your conscience, these consequences are infinite. We're just beginning to understand. So we have this third option, and that is conscientious objection. And conscientious objection is a way for someone to take back that morality, to take that proactive step, reclaim the conscience, and begin that process of healing. So what can we do to support these service members? I ask that we wage an active challenge against the idea that violence is human nature. We make decisions based on patterns that we observe. And what are we given to observe? What's in our popular culture? Dirty street crime, of course war, but not the parts that are helpful for people to see, not an open and honest discussion, but bad guys. We need good guys to kill the bad guys. And there's all this violence. And I find that members of the peace movement engage in some of this too. How many times have you heard, or have you maybe even said, the world is so violent? The world is such a violent place. But is it? I don't know what your grocery store here is, but when you go shopping, the OMNI Natural Food Store, or no, what is it called?
Should be on.
Yeah, what's that called? It's the natural food store. No one's, you see people waiting in line. You don't see people ramming their carts into one another. People are cooperating. We cooperate hundreds and hundreds of thousands of times, but that's never been a headline, right? Hundreds of thousands of acts of cooperation witnessed in the world today. Millions, billions. It doesn't happen. It does happen. But we've evolved, and we are continuing to evolve. And we've created these institutions that unfortunately have let us down. We've created governments, we've created education, we've created legal systems for humanity to move away from violence. Globalization, for all its ills, has brought the world closer, smaller, created more understanding among people, because that's what we're seeking as humanity. That's what we're seeking is cooperation, and that's what is the reality around us. So wage an active challenge against the idea that violence is human nature. This is something that's in our government, our media, our schools, and even our churches. Father Zabelka, he died in 1992, he won't see this, but we have the grand possibility of the Catholic Church actually turning its back on 1,700 years of history.
Yes.
And abolishing just war, and becoming a just war church. And our schools. I'm sure you guys have some relationship with your schools, but the schools, of course, are quite militarized, and military recruiters have easy access to our schools, so we can all take an active role in balancing that message and demanding an open and honest discussion of war and its consequences, not just on the people that are our victims, but also the service members and veterans who are asked to do this killing. Remember, even Howard Zinn said he didn't know what was going on from 30,000 feet. But if we demand an active and open and honest discussion of war, we allow this to filter through our conscience, we can change the outcome. Remember that you are part of the 99%. It's so meaningful for our conscientious objectors. Picture a conscientious objector in the military today. They realize they cannot kill. They declare themselves in the middle of a hyper-militarized, to say the least, hyper-violent celebration of violence. In fact, in the Marines, they have nicknames for one another. They call each other killer, and worse yet, baby killer. This is real. Doesn't matter if you're an accountant or you're in the infantry. Your nickname is still killer or baby killer in the Marines. So this young person, most of them are young, declares him or herself a conscientious objector, and then stays in this environment for some 7 to 9 months while their application for discharge is pending. And they're isolated, and they're ridiculed, and they're harassed, or worse. Because we don't know, we don't have this dialogue of understanding that they are not abnormal by their desire not to kill, but in fact they are part of something that we all share. So declare yourself a conscientious objector. It's something that these young people they may not even know, especially if they've lived most of their life in the absence of a draft. Folks don't even understand what this terminology means. But each of us who has refused, by default even, to serve in the military or to take part in any kind of killing, we are a conscientious objector. Actively resist the label to call humanity violent. Really support the troops. Learn and share what you know about moral injury. It is not a personal deficiency to have trauma. It is a normal reaction to a very unnatural situation. It's a natural reaction. And finally, I hope that you will find it in your hearts to support the Center on Conscience and War. We'd love to have you sign up on our list. We have an enormous caseload at the moment. Conscientious objection is alive and well in the military. We're working with about 70 conscientious objectors at this time, which is a tremendous number of folks for us. There are about 100 conscientious objectors each year that the DoD, that the Department of Defense admits to. We don't see all of them, of course, but we hope to see all of them. We need to make sure people know that this is an option. So share the word that you are not stuck when you join the military. There is hope for you. Visit our website. Call us to learn more about things that you can do. Please sign up on our website, on our mailing list. There's a quote that I'd like to end with, and I want to know if you guys know who said this quote. War will exist until that distant day when the conscientious objector is given the same, when the conscientious objector enjoys the same reputation and prestige as the warrior does today. Does anyone know that quote? John F. Kennedy, World War II veteran. He wrote that in 1963 in a letter to his friend. And that's the day that we're trying to bring forward. We have the unique privilege to be part of these people's lives as they take this amazing journey from someone who has believed that violence is inevitable to someone who believes that violence can never be the solution to any conflict. And we want to see through our work and through sharing our work with you today, we want to bring that distant day just a little bit closer. Thank you so much for your witness. And thank you.
to have you be able to fit us into your tour. Thank you very
I want
much.
to hear from you guys now.
Oh, that was great. I was certainly not the only person in the room that was filtering some of this through our relationship with Jacob George, I imagine. And you know, this becoming connected with the Center on Conscious and War would be a great way to do something about those thoughts that those unsettling thoughts we've all had.
Wow, no, I'm so sorry, I forgot about Jacob.
About our connection with, he was ours.
Yes.
We thought he was ours. Everybody in this room loved Jacob George.
And there's someone who's got a community behind him, who's doing everything that veterans are told to do, are advised to do, are suggested to do.
Yeah.
Still.
And you've got answers to some of these questions that he was
See,
asking.
this is what's so important, why I'm so honored to share this message with you, because I wish we could have gotten to Jacob George earlier.
Yeah.
So he didn't have to do what he was asked to do.
Right. I suppose there was a reason you were sent our way. That's great. What an honor to have you. Well, so we have a couple more things to do. We have the president of OMNI UA has some solutions. There is a solution out there to the buildup of the nuclear arsenal that seems to never go away, and so I guess I'll leave this to Matt to tell you about this. So we have, may I welcome Matt Miller to the stage to talk about.
Hi everybody, glad you could make it. My name is Matthew Miller. I'm the student chapter president of OMNI for Peace, Justice, and Ecology. And first I just want to touch on what Maria was talking about. I'm a naval veteran, and you're right. When I first joined, they promised me, you'll be a patriot, you'll be respected, and all this. And at first I was proud, and then after a while I was numb, and then after a while I was ashamed of what I had done. And I really thought I was okay, and I had no idea that I even had a problem with any of it until after my first combat deployment. They have this thing called Tiger Cruise where you get to meet a family member in Hawaii after a combat deployment, and I met my dad. And I was just talking to him in a bar in Hawaii, and it was late, and I'd had a few drinks, and out of nowhere I started crying. I told him what was going on. Caught me by surprise. I didn't know. Anyway, if I had known that conscientious objection was an option, I may have done it, and I wish more servicemen knew that was an option. And that's over. I'd like to talk to you about Global Zero. And if you didn't know, there was a treaty signed in 1970, the Non-Proliferation Treaty, and 5 of the 9 nuclear powers signed it. And the good faith article, Article 6, I believe, of the NPT, states that each of the parties to the treaty undertakes to pursue negotiations in good faith, effective measures relating to cessation of the nuclear arms race at an early date and to nuclear disarmament, and on a treaty on general and complete disarmament under strict and effective international control. This is a legally binding contract that they all signed. They have to do it, by the court. They have to. But it's been 46 years. They still add money, and they keep modernizing their weapons every day. Every day. The bill gets higher. They keep throwing money at it, even though they had signed this direct initiative saying that they weren't. They were going to de-escalate, and they have done the exact opposite. And that's where the Nuclear Zero petition comes in. It has over 5 million petition signatures at the moment. This issue has galvanized people because the horror of a nuclear holocaust is so vivid in the imagination. You can see it, and it's so horribly violent. There's nothing more violent that we know of, and we do it to each other. It's man's inhumanity to man, and it disgusts me. It really does. And this is nice. These memorials, these remembrances, and we get together and we remember what happened, but it's not enough. We got to do something. So, who has a smartphone? Everyone? No? I'm getting one person. That's good. So, on your phone, you go to nuclearzero.org.
Be serious.
I'm right now. Yeah, and there is on the first page, sign the petition. It's 3 lines, I think 4 maybe. It is so easy, and it makes such a difference. And the more signatures we get, the more we can bully these countries into, following, what they said that they would do. And the more signatures we get, the more leverage we have against them to do what they said that they would. And for nearly 45 years have not. And I would like to give my appreciation to Nuclear Zero and what a wonderful program it is, and I hope you all take it very seriously. Thank you.
That's good. Thank you. That's really nice to have something concrete. There's one other concrete thing we can do tonight. After you got your smartphone signed up, we don't have a smartphone. We went to go get a smartphone and they turned us down. I feel bad about it. But know that we have a very serious petition in the hallway after we adjourn that we'd love for you to sign. It is actually initiated by victims of Hiroshima, and you can read about it. It's a fairly long article, but it's something I think everybody here will want to sign. Some of you might already when we first got here, but that'll be good. So, well, this has been a very powerful program. I do want to thank some people. Our director is giving me a not so subtle reminder that I need to remind everybody afterwards. We do appreciate donations to keep the OMNI Center afloat, and there's a bowl she's holding right there. We'll put it over there close to where the watermelon is being served. So first of all, there are some thank yous. I wanted to make sure I didn't forget anybody. First of all, Richard Tiffany is filming for us, and also we have Lauren Hawkins did our beautiful brochures, and that was very good for that, and she did all our artwork. And, we have, could the committee stand up that helped put all this together? There's the committee members. There we go. And Aubrey Shepherd over here. Aubrey Shepherd, he's everywhere. Everywhere is amazing how you can be everywhere at once. I'm always amazed by that. And also Michael Cochran, who helped with the sound. So you got and thank you all for being a part of this and being part of our larger OMNI family and continuing to work for peace, justice, and ecology. And thank you, Maria, for being here. That was just perfect. That was really meant a lot to so many of us. And you got a little taste of Jenny and Edsel Ogle, but you're going to get a much better taste now. They're going to do an original song. This is one Jenny wrote, and it's called Join Hands Together. It's a gorgeous thing. It's a perfect way to end the celebration. It feels like a nice evening. So I think my portion of this is over. We're going to let you finish it out. So Jenny Ogle and Edsel.
Thank you, Kelly. We're very happy to be here and to share this event with everyone tonight. It's been good medicine. So yeah, this song's called Join Hands Together, and it's an open invitation to extend out to everyone within your reach within your mind and vision and beyond. Join hands together, let our voices speak. Here there's no barrier for you and I to meet. And all the world is blue, rain covers the ground. I can comfort you. Love can still be found. Green comes the world's eye. Solace in rolling side. Fields abound to where I can make a bed for us to lie. And all the wonder we receive are within the ordinary. Fingers trace across the sky. Constellations of my eye. Join hands together, let our voices speak. Here there's no barrier to die. And all the wonder we receive are within the ordinary. Fingers trace across the sky. Constellations of the night. Join hands together, let our voices speak. Here there's no barrier for you and I to meet. Ooh.
don't rush out of here because we have watermelon. It's going to be outside and hot, so but we have watermelon. Thanks to Linda Barnes, by the way. We want to thank Linda for bringing us watermelon. And so don't rush away. Let's talk. Let's all, it's right in the other room. So.